The 14th Ministerial Conference to the World Trade Organization is slated to be held at Cameroon. And there is one very important issue which will be actually be discussed and debated at this particular conference, which is the issue of e-transmissions. Imagine one thing, guys, for example, say whenever we buy some e-books, whenever we buy some amount of digital services from some platforms such as Google and Apple, right, very few minimal charges are actually paid to the government of India in the form of taxes or fees, right? Because there was a major agreement at the WTO in 1998 that most of these e-transmissions, which are actually part of digital intermediary platforms such as Amazon, transaction fees, or digital goods such as e-book, software, video games, and various productivized services such as various cloud infrastructure and various other services such as email, these won't be attracting a lot of fees and charges, and mostly they will be kind of zero rated also. So these amount of digital deliveries that cross international borders without paying significant amount of fees and fines, or say charges or taxes, right? And that is where right now, when AI generated content and AI content is kind of becoming very popular, and most of the big tech companies such as Google, Amazon, etc., they're profiting from this AI race right now, which is exploded to around $5 trillion. They are actually escaping paying a lot of charges and taxes to some developing countries such as India. And that is exactly why India is not happy with this moratorium anymore. India is telling that every 2 years you are extending this moratorium from 1998. You have to stop it right now, right? And that is why India's main stance, why India is opposing not extending this moratorium anymore, is that firstly, this tax-free status is hurting developing economies such as India. US and China, they are very happy. They are telling that, okay, these are our own companies. For example, if you see here, US, Europe, China, they are very happy because most of Apple, Netflix, Alibaba, they are all not paying significant amount of charges to the Indian government. So we are facing $1 billion of losses in tax revenues, where these big tech companies are dominating these entire digital services, due to which our own small scale companies such as MSMEs and startups, they cannot enter the space. We have to protect them, and that is why India is totally opposing the same. India is saying that there are alternate ways also. For example, you can have a limit up to which a company can avoid paying some charges. After that limit, that company must be paying the taxes to the government, or there can be strict amount of monitoring on a global level. But this is not happening, and exactly we have to understand, at WTO we are facing these kind of issues for many years. There are so many allegations on India on public stock holding, right? For example, we give MSP to our farmers, we give support to our farmers in cases of so many subsidies. The WTO and mainly countries such as US, they are not happy with it. But still, India managed to have a peace clause. That means we can actually spend more than 10% of the overall value of agricultural production on subsidies, right? Also, recently we had a fisheries subsidies, and in one of the fisheries subsidies clauses, there is an overfishing and over capacity clause, where India is not agreeing to the same, because India believes that some countries from the developed arena such as Europe and US, they are forcing India to not overfish according to their own terms. So India is telling, give us 25-year transition period, because our own long coastline in India is actually filled with fishing communities. We cannot ban fishing in this way, right? Also, countries such as China, they are talking about a new investment facility for development, where Chinese companies, they are actually forcing the Chinese government to sign individual agreements with WTO members. India is telling WTO is a consensus based organization. All of the members must be agreeing to some agreement, not a few. Only if all are agreeing, then only such funds and such developments which very questionable investment criteria and standards can be going forward. Also, China is dominating in batteries and EVs, all of you know that. And that is why, China has complained to the WTO that India's production linked incentive is against WTO, because WTO promotes free and fair trade. China is telling that under PLI, the government of India is giving so many benefits, which is reducing the cost of production for the EVs and the batteries. But China, on the other hand, itself also gives so many amount of, say, incentives. Also, the dispute settlement at the WTO is not functioning at all, due to which India's own disputes are not being able to see the day of the light, because it is totally paralyzed by the US, because US is one of the main authorities who can appoint the various judges at the appellate board. And at the end of the day, Indian government also faces so many allegations that in India, some of the smartphones and the mobiles are facing a 20% tariffs by some international companies, right? And this is totally against the information technology agreement. But these are all the things that India has to navigate at this present summit right now. Now we have 2 questions from prelims. After answering me in the comments below, we will moving on to the next one.